So tonight, it really is my pleasure to introduce Sergeant William Harvey Carney. Sergeant Carney carried the flag for the Massachusetts 54th Infantry during the Union attack on Fort Wagner in Charlestown, South Carolina. You may be familiar with that story if you watched the 1989 film Glory. Sergeant Carney was injured, received the Medal of Honor, and later became a letter carrier in New Bedford, Massachusetts. So all of us here live and all those watching at home and listening on the podcast, let's give a big round of applause to Sergeant Carney for joining us here tonight. Cue the motorcycles.
Well, good evening. My name is William Harvey Carney. I was a sergeant for the Grand Unit of the Massachusetts 54th. I stand before you today to tell you my story, where I came from, why the Union Army gave me this Medal of Honor. You see, about 40 years ago, during the Great War, I was a fighting man. I traveled south to South Carolina, Fort Wagner, and became what was called a color bearer. Do you know what that means? I carried the flag of Charlie Company of the mighty Massachusetts 54th Colored Regiment. Most of you may not know the importance of the flag. You see, a few years ago, a white man found me after years of searching. Let's see, his name was Jenkins, Caleb Jenkins. He was a newspaper man. You see. Actually, he was more than that. You see, when I saw him, I did not remember him by name. You see, back then, Mr. Jenkins had no use for the colored man. Let's see, he said stripes on a black man is about as handy as stripes on a bull, and that we ain't fit to fight. And coloreds are only good for digging graves or a bunch of ditch diggers. Pack mules, maybe, and black boys are brainless like little children. Well, for a long time, I thought they'd string me up just being near that man, But see, the Lord is good. The Lord is very good. See, I was born a slave in Norfolk, Virginia. My daddy, who I am named for, had a strong desire to be free and to move us away from slavery. So when our owner, Major Carney, passed away, we were free. We could not... Unfortunately, we could not stay in Virginia. You see, there were men, unscrupulous men that, well, they're called slave catchers, that would make it their living by catching runaway slaves, and they'd even capture free coloreds and sell them back into slavery. Can you believe they do that just because the color of their skin? Well, you see, I was a very curious little boy. I asked a lot of questions. My parents realized they needed to put me in school, but see, back then it was against the law to put Negroes in school, you see. So they found a secret school for black children, and I went. In the meantime, my daddy scrimped and saved for quite some time. And eventually he moved us north to Pennsylvania from Virginia. But he wasn't happy there. So Daddy moved us to New York City. But see, there are even slave catchers in New York City. So Daddy felt we weren't safe. Can you believe there were slave catchers in such a large city? But see, my daddy wanted us to live a quiet peace, you see. So he found a place where the Negroes and the Portuguese and many other colored could live in peace. That place was New Bedford. You see, New Bedford lighted the world with whale oil. And there was whale oil for all sorts of purposes. So they needed men, all kinds of men, strong men, men willing to work to get that whale oil. Okay? They needed free men with ready hearts and minds. All sorts of men that worked the dock, tattooed men from the Marquesas with their sharpened harpoons, and Africans from a world away. Even Native American, New England boys, you know, Irishmen rigging those tall masts for wooden ships, and Portuguese sailors were coopering barrels of the whale oil. You see, they had a lot of hairless cheeks mixing with grizzled beards. They would welcome all sorts of men as long as you worked like Hades. Carpenters, sailmakers, map readers, all sorts of men invited to go out on the open sea and peel a whale like an orange. The other great thing about New Bedford was that the abolitionists were there. You see, they're always going out and saying, set those people free. Set them free. That odd man, Henry David Thoreau, would come down from Concord, and he would actually help slip black folk up to Canada. Kenyatta, he used to call it, the promised land. So, when the time came, when the great Civil War started, I was free and I was ripe for it. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. You see, I was ready to do my part in setting my people free. We were looking for the Lord to the Lord for the day of Jubilee. Let my people go. No more chains, no more whips. No more hound dogs. No more hiding in that endless, dismal swamp. No more for my brothers and sisters. No, sir. But at this point, we could not even fight for our own freedom. The white man would not allow us the dignity of earning our freedom in war. Yet, they were fighting and dying for us, but they kept us digging graves and lugging luggage. When would we get to prove our mettle? About 2 years into the war, word got out that this new fighting company, the Massachusetts 54th Colored Regiment, an entire group of colored soldiers? You've been up to Beacon Hill up there in Boston town? No? I have. Have you seen the bronze tablet they installed? A man by the name of Saint-Gaudens actually made it. He studied the individual faces of men who fought with the 54th. Oh, he might have put his own idea of what a black man looks like in his sculpture. His idea of what a black man's face looks like in war. But he saw us all as unique. See the man on the horse in that same sculpture? Robert Gould Shaw. That was my man. Most unlikely young fellow, too. He was wounded pretty bad at Antietam. A white man, well, a white boy actually. And Governor Andrews makes him the first commander, or the commander of the first all-colored regiment in this United States Army. He was on that tablet, larger than life, a true soldier. The rest of us in that tablet, black men fighting for our own. But him, why? He had the best of everything. Educated at Harvard College. He had money galore. I'm sure the ladies had their eye on him too. You know what I mean? But fighting in the 54 was not what I had in mind. Better than a ball and chain, I guess. Thank the Lord for that boy, Colonel Shaw, though. He meant business. And the crew of the colored men he put together, you know, a real gaggle of geese, all these men just honking out different tunes, you know. You had the farmhand that would talk about, well, at least we get some victuals, Or then you had the free houseman. The dessert was a trifle tart, Robert. Or then you got some of those bitter vagabonds, and got to go up and ask them, you was an old lady, an old man? I can't tell. But you have a runaway slave saying, when are we going to get some of those blue suits? You know, they come with those blue suits and those shoes. I'll think about what they are in a minute. I don't remember the name. There's a name for those shoes. But all those differences between the colors, school learned and field hand alike, all put together. Me? I was no one to lead them. Oh, no, not me. Colonel Shaw was the one in charge. Lord Almighty, what a task. Well, he made me a sergeant to help out. But you see, I had a problem all my own. See, before I was a soldier, I was studying for the ministry. I was going to be a preacher. Mama always said I was loud enough to raise the spirits. But the good book says, thou shalt not kill. But then it says, there's a time for a body to beat their plowshares into swords. I had to help set my people free, but just the thought of killing another man, oh, what to do? What to do? So I prayed on it. And when they handed out those Enfield rifles, I took mine. I'd waited in prayer for an answer. And the Lord, well, the Lord takes his own good time. I tell you, it was a wrestle, a real wrestle. Well, the gun or the good book? What was I going to do? What was I going to do? Well, as you know, there were endless hours of drill. But we finally got us our blue suits, brogans. Our shoes were called brogans. They were called that because they were all straight aheads. Okay, sometimes they called them straight aheads because there was no left or right to them. That way you didn't have to match them up. You just get to and you march. We marched all right. Ha! Took those brogans, those straight aheads, took us straight ahead south into war. One day, the government announced that since we were colored troops, we would get $10 a month. $10 a month. While the white boys got 13. Well, before anybody could get upset, Colonel Shaw sees that we are on the edge. And before there's a few men that raised a fuss, they started tearing the papers and hollering. They said, tear it up, tear it up. We as good to die as any white soldier. So, my man, Shaw stands up on a cracker box all fine and dandy. He reaches inside his blue coat, fires off his Navy revolver in the air. Bam, bam! He said, men, if you will take no pay, nor will your white officers. And he tears up his paper right there and then. That's when he won us over, truly. That's when we were no longer field hands, house slaves with dainty manners, and we weren't free black clerks or whalemen or ne'er-do-wells. That was the day we proudly put on our blue suits and those straight aheads, and they became uniforms. We became the mighty 54th Massachusetts Colored Regiment, and we knew it. We started marching down the streets of Boston to the beat of the band. Our eyes were right, and our hearts were right. Next thing we knew, we're in the Carolinas. Black folks stood along the dusty roads whenever it was safe, and we would hear them cry, "Oh, Lord, the day of Jubilee has come. I'm a-coming home." Lord, poor people thought they could attach themselves and trail along, but there was fighting to do. Trouble was, I should say, they would not allow us to fight. Digging ditches, lugging stuff. That was all. That's when Mr. Jenkins and I met. He was with the 100th New York Regiment. An officer of the 54th caught him abusing me. As I recall, those boys can sure raunch up some names, some bad names. They were going to arrest Jenkins, and I said, it's nothing but a soldier's fight. Those white fellows just needed proof. Proof we had heart. And we gave it to them. Then there was the fight in the Carolina woods. Reb sent the cavalry in first. We stood firm. I've never seen such horsemen since Custer and his Michigan Wolverines. They charged, sabers swinging, dodging trees and rocks. How could we hold? But we held. We were about to congratulate ourselves when they sent the infantry in, grim and determined. It was hand to hand, eye to eye. But we stayed and they fled. On that day, the Massachusetts 54th Regiment won its honor. Lord, how I hated to carry that Enfield rifle. But you sure can't fight by hitting them with your Bible. I prayed hard for another way. O Lord of love and justice, I have remained faithful. Give me the answer, a way of serving my country without going against the faith. But this war, 4 million coloreds remaining in chains. This war, what else was there to do? Fort Wagner, July 18th, 1863. Overlooked Charleston Harbor, protected it like a mother bear protecting its cubs. Up high was cannon and parrot Bristol cannon and parrot guns bristling all out every direction, just shot and shell everywhere. Shaw, Shaw believed that the only way to get at it was a frontal attack along the beach. Colonel Shaw says to the general, the 54th requests the honor of leading the attack. The general consented. Shaw sent his horse away. I said to the drummer boy, now you go and wait over there. We'll be along directly. A seagull winged above me. The salt air smelt like life itself. The waves lapped up on the shore. How precious is life? How sweet. But up front, the candidates split the air. Bam, bam, boom. Fiery blossoms of destruction. We moved forward, our chests out. Determination in our eyes. But I had that one voice in my head, and I had that rifle in my hands. All of a sudden, Colonel Shaw turns and yells, if this man shall fall, who will carry the flag? Like a light from heaven, a voice shouted, I will. And it was mine. I had found my third way. God had answered my prayer. But unfortunately, every step we were losing men. But the fire from that fort was terrible. Sand flying, cannonballs striking, terrible shrieking of shot and shell. It was like a blizzard of hard lead and raging sand. Then, as what was left of us, we climbed the rampart of that fort. And as we climbed, our flag bearer went down. I grabbed the flag just before it struck the ground. I threw away my rifle. My prayer had been answered. Neither the Bible nor the rifle, but the flag. Once I had my third way, once I had that flag in my hands, I realized that the flag must never touch the ground. Once I took the flag, I heard Colonel Shaw call out, hold high the flag, Sergeant Carney. And we soared right up to the top of the parapet. We'd made it to the top. But for all our sacrifice, death, and destruction, we did not take the fort. Colonel Shaw fell, mortally wounded. I was hit more than once upon that parapet, but I remembered my vow. The flag will never touch the ground. We, what was left of us, went reeling back. We retreated. We had to. I was struck again and again and again. I nearly dropped it, but I held on. Back we stumbled through the dark night. I spied Shaw's horse lying there on the shore with the waves lapping at its flanks. It took all my strength to keep the faith. It took all my strength. But a few weeks later, we were back at it. My strength returned when I learned that the rebels had buried Colonel Shaw with his men. His father, Colonel Shaw's father, when he learned his son would stay in South Carolina forever, he said, good. Robert would have been proud to have his remains there with the men of the 54th. Whenever I see me a seagull, I think it carries the grace of God. Carries the grace of God down on those men and those boys who are mingled in death. Buried by the sea way off in South Carolina. Died to set their brothers and sisters free. But my young friends, we are not free, not even now, not quite yet. Not too long ago, I was given a medal for keeping that very same flag safe. I waited several years, about 37, my math is correct, for the government to put it upon my neck. Along with that honor, I was awarded the position of street lamp superintendent for the city of New Bedford. Shortly after they gave that to me, I gave it up. For what? To gallivant across the country to mine for gold. Pie in the sky, you say? A foolish journey? Perhaps. But you see, I reckon a man of color is not fully free until he was free to roam, to explore. I wanted to see the wonders of the western sky. I wanted to pan for gold. I wanted to look at the same new wonders that the white fellows looked at. We all went south to fight. And after that awful conflict, home seemed just too small for many of us, too dang constricted. Many wish me to be a spokesman for my race, and I am. But I have the wanderlust in me, right in here. And I'm not done. There's an advertisement that says they're looking for an elevator man up at the Trenton House in Boston. It's not far from our tablet. Why, you ask? I came north as a pup. I went south to Carolina and east to Fort Wagner. Then I went west to pan for gold. I've been down like all colored folk, and now I want to go up. Up on a brand new elevator, all fitted out with brass and brand spanking new. There was a black soldier down south who was ordered to sit atop a fence and guard rebel prisoners. He looks down and he sees his former master digging away. He looks down and goes, "Howdy, master," and then points to the rail that he's sitting on and says, "Well, looky here. The master's done gone down and the slave's done gone up. So, I am going to ride my elevator straight to the top." You don't mind, do you? Yes, sir. I've been down. But right now, sure looks good to me. I thank you.